Welcome, everyone, to the second annual Accelerating Innovation in Aging Demo Day. I am Stephen Collins. I'm the CEO of Matter. We are a healthcare technology incubator and innovation hub built on a belief that collaboration between entrepreneurs and industry leaders is the best way to develop healthcare solutions. Our mission is to accelerate the pace of change of healthcare, and we do three things in service of our mission. First, we incubate startups. Since we launched 8 years ago, we've worked with more than 800 companies that range from very early to growth stage startups, and we have a suite of services to help them at every stage of development. In aggregate, our member companies have raised about $5 billion to fuel their growth. Second, we work with large organizations, health systems, life sciences companies, payers, to strengthen their innovation capacity. We help them find value in emerging technology solutions and unlock the full potential of their internal innovators and create a more human-centered healthcare experience through system-level collaborations. And third, Matter is a nexus for people who are passionate about healthcare innovation. We bring people together to be inspired and learn and connect with each other. We developed the Accelerating Innovation in Aging program with support from the RRF Foundation for Aging, which is dedicated to improving the quality of life for all of us as we age. We kicked off this program about 8 months ago with a series of roundtables that brought together thought leaders to help us frame the challenges facing family caregivers. Several of the participants in those roundtables are joining us today, and I want to thank them for their participation. Special thanks as well to Mary O'Donnell and Amy Eisenstein from the RRF Foundation for Aging, as well as Tom Kuzmarski, who serves on the foundation's board, and all of whom have been instrumental in developing this program. We put this program together to advance solutions that help people navigate the caregiving experience or improve caregiver well-being. We received applications from innovators all over the world, selected the 6 companies that you'll hear from today. The teams participated in a 12-week accelerator that included mentorship, exclusive resources, and interactive curriculum. Each of the companies also receives a 6-month membership to Matter for ongoing support for their solution. And earlier this week, each team shared an extended presentation to a panel of judges, which included Amy Eisenstein, who is with the RRF Foundation for Aging, as I said, Gina Konstantakopoulos, who is one of my colleagues at Matter, Jenny Poth, who's invests on behalf of Ziegler, Mimi Bright, who is with Grail, and as an aside, there was an interesting article about one of Grail's tests in the Wall Street Journal today, but she brings a number of capabilities, including she spent a bunch of time at Cigna, and so very familiar with this space. Stephen Liu, who's with A2 Collective, Steve Ewell, who runs the Consumer Technology Association's foundation, Tom Kuzmarski, as I mentioned, who started and runs Chicago Innovation, and Tony Perry, who, in addition to being on the board of RRF Foundation for Aging, is with Duo Health. I want to thank all of the judges for their participation and support, and also thank Mark Cohen, who's our executive in residence at Matter, and who worked very closely with each of the teams throughout this program. The winning solution will receive $10,000. We'll announce winner at the conclusion of this program. But first, I'd like to introduce Mary O'Donnell, who is the president of RRF Foundation for Aging. She joined in 2009. She served as a program officer and a senior program officer and a vice president before assuming her current role. She's contributed to all of the foundation's grant-making program areas over the years, with a particular focus on organizational capacity building. Mary, thank you so much for your partnership and your support.
Absolutely, Stephen. And thank you. Thank you to the whole Matter team for your work on this accelerator. As Stephen said, I just want to echo thanks to the judges and the innovators who stepped up to take the challenge. And thank you to all of you today. I'm particularly excited to hear our keynote in a few moments from Tracy, so I'm going to keep my remarks brief. But I do want to just introduce you briefly to who we are as a foundation. RRF Foundation for Aging, as Stephen mentioned, is a grant-making organization based here in Chicago. We have a laser focus on improving the quality of life of older people, and we've had that focus for over 40 years. Supporting enhancements in research and policy and practice, all so that older people can live fuller, healthier lives in the communities they love for as long as possible. Grant making is our primary business, but it does go beyond grant making. We also amplify age-forward solutions. We innovate to find and fuel new efforts that can improve the quality of life of older people. And we collaborate, as you're seeing here today through our collaboration with Matter. We collaborate with a range of partners to advance outstanding work in aging. And at the foundation, we realize that technology-enabled solutions offer compelling opportunities to achieve our mission. But as many of us all here today know, too often innovators on the tech-focused side of our society might not be thinking about older people, despite the demographics that underscore the massive market share this population represents. And on the other side, innovators on the aging focused corners of our society can be a little leery at times of what those solutions can offer, or unsure how to harness their potential, or how to particularly do it in ways that would reach those who could most benefit from their potential. And that's why RRF Foundation for Aging is so excited about this partnership with Matter and the Accelerating Innovation in Aging initiative. We really feel that Matter is perfectly positioned to help break down those silos, bringing together entrepreneurs and researchers and content experts, as you heard Stephen mention, community leaders, others, all to learn and innovate together. And as you know, this particular initiative we're talking about today has been focused on advancing technology-based solutions that can address the complex challenges of caregiving and those who are caring for loved ones. We know a lot of things. We know, first of all, that there are I like to think, three people in this world: those who have been a caregiver, those who are a caregiver, or those who will be a caregiver. And we even know that the term family caregiving is increasingly inappropriately being regarded as a term that relates to, any relative, partner, loved one, neighbor, friend, anyone in our nexus of support who has a significant personal relationship with and provides a broad range of assistance to older adults. We know that family caregivers are frequently overwhelmed with navigating and juggling the perplexing array of responsibilities that they need to navigate, all while, of course, trying to maintain their own self-care, right? And manage their own personal responsibilities. But we really do know, and as you'll hear over the course of today, that there are so many ways that technology can be harnessed practically to help older caregivers or younger caregivers caring for older people to do their jobs and embrace that side of their role with joy and satisfaction. Ultimately, of course, helping the older people they're caring for live better, healthier lives, right? And that's what it's down to. So I'm going to close up, but I just want to thank everybody for participating today. I want to thank all of you who are here in the Zoom room with us. We hope that you will come away from today with a renewed commitment to join our collective effort to accelerate innovations in aging. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Mary. And it's such a pleasure working with you and your team.
Oh, back at you, Stephen.
I'd like to introduce our keynote speaker now, Tracy Chadwell. named to the Kaufman Fellows 28th class, the inaugural Forbes 50 over 50 list in 2021, and one of Entrepreneur Magazine's 100 Powerful Women. Tracy is the founding partner of 1843 Capital. It's a venture capital firm funding the growing age tech and longevity revolution across all industries, including health, wellness, mobility, fintech, and cybersecurity. Tracy was previously a partner at a growth capital venture firm, Baker Capital, and a VP at Robertson Stevens. And Tracy, we are very much looking forward to your remarks. Thanks so much for joining us.
Stephen, thank you so much. And thank you for your remarks. And Mary, thank you too for your beautiful words. And thank you for everything that you're doing. I greatly appreciate everyone for being here today, and especially the entrepreneurs, because you are the ones that are in the arena. And so hopefully today, some of my shared experience of being an entrepreneur and some of my words might help support you as you're supporting all the caregivers. Thank you to Matter and to the RRF Foundation for all of your great work and for asking me to be here and asking for me to be here today to share my journey as an entrepreneur. It was the summer of 2019, and 1843 Capital, my venture firm, was about a year old. I generally get up early in the morning, and that day was no exception. I do try to meditate in the morning before getting started on work, but nearly every morning, the siren call of emails calls too strongly. So I opened up my emails, and my eye immediately jumped to something from Entrepreneur Magazine. The email said, we're doing a feature on 100 powerful women in our October issue, and we'd love to include you as one of our inaugural 100 most powerful women entrepreneurs. I was absolutely shocked. I thought they'd made a mistake. I never had thought of myself as an entrepreneur, but here I was being honored by Entrepreneur Magazine. I wrote back and I said, are you sure you mean me, not one of my portfolio companies? And they said, no, we mean you. We want to include you because you built your firm. So I guess I was an entrepreneur after all, and my journey has not been a straight line. Starting your own company, as you all know, takes a really special kind of person. Unlike many founders in this incredible program, Advancing Innovation on Aging, I was not born an entrepreneur, nor did I have parents who were not entrepreneurs, but I saw a problem and thought that I was the best one to address it. There's a lack of companies solving problems for older adults and a lack of investors focused on the space, and specifically a lack of women investors with a different perspective. The only thing that could hold me back from doing something about it was a 4-letter word, the word fear. There's no stranger to fear, for sure. But over the years, I've learned that the stories in our minds might not be true. And if we stop asking for things out of fear, we will never make the change that we know needs to happen in this world. I could have let the knowledge that women manage less than 3% of all venture dollars stop me. I could have let the knowledge that investors don't like sold GPs stop me. I could have let the fact that I was over 50 and had taken time off to raise my sons stop me. All the things consultants look for, I didn't have. In fact, one said to me, Tracy, we're in the pattern matching business and nothing about you matches the pattern of a successful investor. When I had reached out to an old boss to make sure I had his support, he said to me, of course I'll support you, Tracy. It's not always the smartest people in the world who are the most successful. Think about that. I had every reason in the world not to start. I had a comfortable home, a good life. Starting my firm has had emotional, time, and financial costs, but I couldn't stop thinking that I was the one to solve this problem. So 6 years later, with 2 funds raised, invested in companies that have created thousands of jobs and helped many people, the honor of being named to the Forbes 50 over 50 list, accepted into Kaufman Fellows, speaking at Milken's Global Summit, and having a $1 billion exit under my belt, yes, it has been worth it. Most people don't realize that when you start a venture firm, it's a lot like starting a company and asking for funding. We have to raise the money first from investors, and then we can start the process of selecting and assisting our portfolio companies. One of the tough things about my business is that I'm constantly raising capital for my fund and for my portfolio companies. It takes on average about 1.5 years to raise a fund. So as soon as you get one closed, you have to start building relationships for the second. We never get a break. I've talked to nearly 400 investors in the process and successfully closed 62. So how did I do it? How did I keep the fear of asking at bay? I actually turned it into a process. So now one that is more muscle memory than something I need to force myself to do. And it's a process that anybody can use. It has 3 elements, what I call 3 no's to a yes. Number 1 is know your audience. Number 2 is know yourself. And number 3, no doesn't mean no forever. Once you learn persistence is rewarded, then you can start to build the muscle memory. I learned this process when I was a young lawyer before I got into venture, and it was a terrible time to be a lawyer. We were in a real recession, one with no jobs. Law firms were cutting associate classes by 70%, but people were still pouring into law school because of a hit TV show called LA Law, which some of you over 50s may remember. I had sent out 100 resumes. I interviewed over and over and over again and heard lots and lots of no's. Maybe this sounds a little bit like fundraising to some of you entrepreneurs. I was incredibly discouraged. But at that time, I didn't know my audience. At the time, I was targeting people who had very limited capacity to hire. And I probably didn't learn too much about them before I sent my resumes. Most likely, it was all about me and less about learning about them. I eventually saw an article in Crane's Chicago Business about a new firm that was starting up doing cross-border work between the United States and Asia, and I decided to call them up and see if I could come and meet. I said, I'm a perfect fit for you. I have a law degree. I've also worked in Japan. Well, the conversation went well, and so I said, do you see me as a fit in your company? And they said, well, we're not hiring for lawyers right now. But because this time I knew my audience, knew it was a new firm and probably needed help and knew I had the right skill set, said, are you hiring for anything else? And they said, yes, we're looking for a receptionist. And I said, I'll take it. So as a lawyer who had passed the bar with an international law experience and Japanese language experience, I took a job as a receptionist for 6 months, but then I did transfer into the deals after they found someone that answered the phone. And I think it's important to be creative and to figure out ways to find the right path for you, where you're interested in being, even if it isn't what you first thought it was going to be. So it just goes to show you what a little research into potential investors or potential bosses can do. That is knowing your audience. And with LinkedIn and websites today, there's just really no excuse. Today, I get over 100 cold emails per day. Spend most of the morning deleting almost all of them, as they haven't done the work to know who I am as an investor or what we invested. Thank you, HubSpot. The only emails I read and respond to are the ones that know the stage and the companies we're focused on and are genuine. But HubSpot is still trying. I now get a few emails that say, hey, Tracy, I saw you invested in CareGiving, so I thought you'd be perfect to invest in our basketball company in Kuwait. Not quite there yet. Number 2, knowing your value proposition or self-knowledge is just as important as knowing the audience. I really learned this. If you can't communicate how you're adding value to an investor, it is just really hard to be effective. I often advise my companies when they're raising, make sure you understand the investor's problem and how you can solve it. Some investors have an impact focus. Some of us have new dollars that we need to allocate, but some are at the end and don't have any capital. These things are things you have to understand, so then you can make your value proposition really shine through. A fund with state money might be looking for you to add jobs to their state. A corporate VC might be looking to see how your company can help the rest of their products. An individual may want to feel valued by being part of your advisors, but they all want to see how you can achieve a meaningful exit, and it's still your duty to show that. So the third part of this process is no doesn't mean no forever. just right at the minute for exactly what you're asking at exactly that time. And this is where persistence comes in. You know, just last week, I received a commitment to our fund from a family office I've been talking to for 5 years. If you've done your work, know your investors, and know your value propositions, sometimes you just have to keep asking. So hopefully I've shown you that you are not alone. Everybody is working hard out there, especially you entrepreneurs. And my advice to all of you is know your audience, know yourself, and know your worth. Just keep asking with courage and resilience. When we embrace asking as a lifelong process, we can accomplish great things. I am so honored to be considered among the world's most powerful women entrepreneurs, but you know, real power comes when we support each other in overcoming fears, finding our voices, and writing our own stories. And I would love to close with a quote from Teddy Roosevelt about the man in the arena, because I feel like you are all in the arena and we can't forget this. He said, "It's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes up short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcomings, but who actually strives to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends his time in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end of triumph of high achievement, and at the worst, if he fails, at least he fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who knew neither victory nor defeat." So thank you so much. I appreciate you having me today, and best of luck to all of you. Thanks.
Thanks, Tracy. Thanks for sharing your story and for your advice and your input. Really appreciate it. I would now like to turn things over to my colleague, Katie Costco, who has worked very closely with RRF Foundation for Aging to lead this program. Katie will MC the presentations from the startups. And Katie, take it away.
Thanks, Stephen. Hi, everybody. My name is Katie. I'm with the partnerships team at Matter. I will moderate the program today and do my best to make sure that everybody stays on time. So just a couple housekeeping items before we start the pitches. Each startup will have 5 minutes to pitch their solutions. And then after, we will announce the winner. And with that, we'll take it away. So I'd like to introduce the first presenter, Allison Schreier with Zinnia.
Meet my family. This is us when the kids were 13 and 16. My husband, Evan, was 48 years old and 1 year into his dementia diagnosis. Life was pretty hard at this time, and as Evan's care needs became more demanding, I saw myself starting to become something of a statistic. 33% of dementia family caregivers watch their own health decline. 60% rate their stress as high or very high. 40% struggle with depression. There are 11 million dementia family caregivers in the United States, and sometimes, like them, I would turn on the television to try and keep Evan occupied and give myself a little bit of a break. But regular TV is made for people with healthy brains who can track a plot, tell fact from fiction, and process rapidly moving audio and video. For people with dementia, regular TV can cause confusion, boredom, daytime sleeping, which translates into nighttime waking, and it can increase challenging reactions. So my solution, I'll just turn on the TV, becomes part of the problem. I saw a need and a solution that would help both people giving and receiving care. Given my experience at the University of Washington's Memory and Brain Wellness Center and my co-founder's experience designing the Apple Memories video product, I knew that we could build this. We added 2 more founders who added extensive business development and content design expertise, and we were off and running. Zinnia is a subscription-based app for mobile devices and connected TVs that delivers a library of over 250 research-driven videos, digestible by and engaging for people with dementia. It's the solution that I was looking for when I turned on the television. Zinnia turns the TV into a non-pharmacological tool that helps reduce challenging reactions, create meaningful connections, and lower everybody's stress. Unlike regular TV or YouTube or products from other companies meant specifically to entertain people with dementia, Zinnia was purpose-built by caregivers for caregivers. Our content, it's engaging and it is entertaining, but it also assists with activities of daily life. It promotes caregiver self-care and it's educational. A quick peek at Zinnia. Here's our platform, which is accessible via the web, mobile apps, and connected TVs. Family caregivers can subscribe for $6.99 a month or $69.99 a year. Zinnia videos are gently paced with calming music, evocative sound effects, and beautiful visuals. We started out making videos to give care partners something to talk about, while being engaging enough for the person with dementia to watch alone, giving the caregiver a bit of respite. But our videos do so much more. Caregivers share how they use videos like babies as an alternative to medication when the person with dementia is in a state of high anxiety. We continue to receive testimonials with this use case playing out in other settings with other videos and other people with dementia. We're especially proud of our activities of daily living videos, which show people engaging in activities like getting dressed, eating breakfast, or using the toilet successfully. These allow the person with dementia to get comfortable with the activity we're about to begin and see it as something safe and maybe even pleasurable. We've added videos in other languages, like a version of our drinking water video in Cantonese that features people drinking hot tea instead of cold water. And we've recently added channels to help caregivers use our videos to promote self-care like breathing, movement, and meditation. And we have educational videos that cover topics that are really important for caregivers. 4 peer-reviewed papers will result from 2 years of research at the University of British Columbia in conjunction with Vancouver General Hospital, looking at the impacts of Zinnia in long-term and acute care settings. And a pilot with Brookdale, the largest senior living operator in the US, demonstrated overwhelmingly that Zinnia does help entertain. It does help reduce challenging behaviors and assist with activities of daily living. We are now working with Brookdale Procurement to roll out in over 300 of their memory care communities. So yeah, it's great to have this validation for long-term and acute care settings. Our focus, however, is the 98% of people with dementia living at home being cared for by people like me. If the person with dementia is happy, the caregiver is happy. That's why 75% of family caregivers who use our free trial end up subscribing, because Zinnia works. I'm Allison Schreier, co-founder and president of Zinnia. We are changing the face of dementia care by giving caregivers a non-pharmacological tool to better support themselves and those they care for. So please share our story widely so that we can help make life better for even more family caregivers and the people they love. Thank you.
Thanks, Allison. And next up, I'd like to introduce Amy Lane with Sandwich.
Good morning. My name is Amy Lane, and I am the co-founder of Sandwich. I want to take a moment to thank Matter and RRF Foundation for Aging for hosting today's public demo on caregiving issues that so many of us in the sandwich generation struggle with on a daily basis. In 2022, we worked with over 1,000 patients and caregivers throughout the United States. In our work, care partners and patients say that they want providers they trust to help them manage time and costs they spend with their healthcare. To put this into perspective, caregivers spend 7 to 10 hours identifying services and more than 1,000 hours on direct care a year. Clinical tools, on the other hand, currently don't integrate well with bringing a caregiver into patient care. In fact, in the course of a day, busy providers often overlook caregivers in their EHR. The realities of our disjointed system magnifies caregiving burnout and increases patient health deterioration. As an important voice in health journey for our loved ones, it's critical that we as caregivers provide a holistic view of how we care so that we can go on enjoying the joys of our lives. Based on our research, we understand how valuable the caregiver relationship is to a patient's health. When we consider all of the reasons why someone's health deteriorates, the nature of our relationships explain about a third of this deterioration. The interconnectedness of relationships is the foundation of the Sandwich app. Care partner efforts matter, and implementing Sandwich brings your network into every provider visit, in person or virtual, to support your loved ones and your own well-being. The Sandwich solution is an engagement tool. With just 5 minutes a day, the platform acts as a command and control center to promote collaboration with multiple healthcare teams and the care partner. The purpose of the platform is to foster engagement that works within formal and informal support systems of a patient to relieve the caregiver hours on the phone and making connections. As an engagement platform with multi-user capability, the app also produces personalized nudges. An automated text for when you're near your pharmacy to remind you to pick up a refill is a prime example. Our assessment saves caregivers time by customizing content, scheduling tasks with your support team, and tracking medications with your medical team. With Sandwich, patients and care partners are able to engage in their care proactively and have a personalized care strategy that saves all stakeholders time and money. By engaging patients with care partners and their care team, we can limit hospitalizations that are a result of health deterioration. So how does the Sandwich app work? A provider invites patients and care partners to the app through their EHR. Then the patient approves HIPAA and user consent. Once complete, the EHR information is exchanged and care partners participate in an assessment with their patient. Next, patients and care partners invite others to support their care, whether this be formal, such as home health and nurse, or informal, friends and neighbors. The app also facilitates two-way communication that is the core strategy for keeping patients out of the hospital. With use, the app helps patients and care partners identify relevant resources and share information to lower risk. We are actively securing agreements with patient partners and providers and Medicare Advantage health plans to pilot our engagement platform for patients with dementia and care partners in Q1 of 2024. We already have 900 participants ready to join us. If you are too, go to our website or join us this afternoon.
Thanks, Amy. And next up, we have Neil Shah with CareYaya.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for taking the time to hear our story. So quick question for the audience. It's easier to do this in person, but I'll ask anyway. How many of you guys know someone that's been a caregiver for someone that's sick, disabled, or dying? If you kind of think about it, usually 50% plus of people in the audience, either have dealt with this firsthand or secondhand. So imagine 5 years from now, there's a $100 billion company that has completely revolutionized caregiving across the country, and you were there to hear it one of the first few times it presented in public. So I'm Neil Shah, the CEO and co-founder of CareYaya Health Technologies, and this is how it starts. So what's this? Looks like a chart of ChatGPT users after OpenAI launched the product late last year. But in fact, it's the fastest growing caregiving platform in America. Rewind a little bit, quick background on myself. This is me 6 years ago. I was in my mid-30s. I was running a $250 million hedge fund in New York City. And this is me today, back home where I grew up in North Carolina, running a big caregiving startup. So you may wonder, kind of what happened. It's fun and games, just commercial opportunity, right? So actually in my mid-30s, I got punched in the face twice in a matter of 2 years. As I'm sure most of you experienced, you become a caregiver when things happen to you. Right after I took care of my grandfather through a rapid progression of dementia, kidney failure, cancer, and then end of life and hospice care, which was really emotionally traumatic, then I became a family caregiver for my wife, going through multiple years of cancer treatment, failed therapies. At this point, she was in a medical coma while I was running my own investment fund. And, I'm a very hard worker, and this was extremely emotionally difficult. The physical toll it took, and frankly, the guilt. I think that's the number one thing I realize is when you become a caregiver and you try to outsource care and get some help with the modern care industry, you feel so bad, you end up doing it yourself. I actually stepped away from a career that I'd spent over 15 years of my life building to be primary caregiver for my wife for several years. At that point, I realized it's not only me. 53 million Americans, or 1 in 6 people, are family caregivers for an aging parent, a spouse with serious illness or disability, or even a child with special needs. People are starving for quality and affordable care options. And this happens to many people that I've observed through my care journey. Most people feel guilty when they try to get care help and end up doing it themselves. I think that somehow people are not innovating in this industry. You know, Uber and Airbnb have built these enormous businesses, starting with market sizes that were a fraction of the home care market in the country. And I think there's really, given how big this market is, I think there's room for a tech disruptor to completely revolutionize the care experience and frankly expand market size. And that's what we're building at Care.ia. So another critical insight is consumers love Uber and Airbnb. You know, people have grown up using these tech-enabled options and they need a similar option to find care help. Most people think a tech platform can deliver care that is better, faster, and cheaper. So here's what we're building. Care.ia makes it really easy. You can book care online in less than 2 minutes. Best and most uniquely of all, the caregivers are all vetted and motivated college students pursuing healthcare careers. Think about our doctors and nurses of tomorrow. They're available at only $15 to $20 an hour. It's literally 30 to 50% lower cost than a traditional local home care agency. We run it as maximum social enterprise. It's free for our consumers to use. We charge no fees to the consumer. And number one bit of feedback we've gotten since we've been running it is people love students as caregivers, feels like grandkids. It's an interdisciplinary team across business, technology, and healthcare. So alongside myself is my co-founder, Gavri Eshet, Chief Technology Officer, has previously built software implementations that have scaled to thousands of users. Dr. Casterat, Chief Medical Advisor, Chief of Palliative Care at Duke. And then a recently growing team, including Roxy running communications, Maggie on product design, Nirvana on outreach. And we're also backed by some early investors and advisors, including CEOs and chairwomen of large health plans, as well as chairman of a large telehealth company, as well as several physicians who helped us build this. And this is the key. The platform is going absolutely nuts in the last few months. You know, we launched in our backyard at Duke University and UNC Chapel Hill, initially had 10, 20 student caregivers on it, and it grew and grew. And then really, full start of this fall semester, it went viral at multiple places across the country. Now we have over 5,000 students on it. It's expanded to universities all over the country: Vanderbilt, University of Michigan, Emory, Harvard, UT Austin, University of Georgia. Imagine you are a family living in Boston, or imagine you live wherever and you're taking care of your mother who is 78 years old living in Boston, and you need care help, and you go to a local care agency. Right now, they're going to charge you $35 to $40 an hour and really pay somebody minimum wage to come take care of her, who probably doesn't even want to be there. Or you can go get a Harvard University undergrad student who wants to go into a healthcare field and become a future doctor at $15 an hour. I think this thing is a no-brainer wherever we grow. And I think over time, this thing is going to destroy and dominate the care industry. The cool social impact of it is it's really building a lot of intergenerational relationships and fostering connections across society. You know, if you think about the average 20-year-old, 22-year-old in society, how many times in the last year have they interacted with anybody that's above 70, you know, that wasn't their own grandparent? Probably close to zero. And I think that's been the most fun and rewarding part to see if we're changing society's attitude towards aging and caregiving, actually building a lot of empathy on both sides. Here's a video. I don't know if the audio works, but I'll play a short video anyway of just kind of the testimonials of people that are using it. There's just some examples of, you know, relationships that are being formed. You know, as we grow, we're collaborating a lot with large healthcare systems to kind of build awareness with families who need the care help. Critically, we grow a lot from earned media. We're proud to say we've spent $0 on advertising, which is awesome. Actually, have built the entire platform right now spending less than $300,000 of capital, and it's scaled so fast. And now we're at a point where we're confident with a very small amount of capital, we can both build a multi-billion-dollar company, spread this nationwide, and make an enormous social impact. So, kind of what's the opportunity? First, there's a rapid growth opportunity to bring a unique, high-quality, tech-savvy care force and engage them. 20 million college students in the country. We think at the rates we're growing and the market shares we're achieving at the universities, we can achieve 300 to 500,000 going through the Care AI platform over the next 3 years. Rapid growth through network effects. It's now spreading university by university from professors, pre-health advisors, and students without us even doing anything in terms of outbound marketing. Critically, I also think this is uniquely the only care force that can deploy AI and cutting edge technology into the home. I've seen a lot, actually, some of the other members in our cohort, they are working on really cool technology solutions for caregivers. And I think that the current paid home care industry in the country is so low tech, mainly because it's low wage and staffed mostly by uneducated people. I think you flip the switch here and you get a digitally native younger generation of college students into thousands and millions of homes. They can deploy cool stuff into the homes. And I think that's phase 2 of Care AI and what we're rapidly working on. Speed is priority of the platform. We want to get the marketplace to $2.5 billion of revenues very quickly over the next 3 years and expand to top 50 universities in the country. Monetization paths, as I mentioned, we don't want to monetize to the consumer. I actually think it creates a much more affordable care option for the consumer and a greater experience for the student caregiver. And we think at scale, there's great monetization opportunities through advertising revenues, referral partnerships, employee benefits plans. We've already started getting a lot of inbounds from large corporate employers who want to offer something like Care AI as an employee benefit for people managing family care needs, and then lower priority Medicare Advantage plans, as well as simple markup. But we think we can get to scale pretty fast. Exit strategy, I would love to IPO this. I've actually spent a lot of my career in the public markets looking for something like this, and nothing exists. I think most ways to invest in caregiving in the public markets are really real estate oriented, skilled nursing facilities, assisted living operators, which are just capital intensive businesses, that don't garner high valuations. I think a tech enabled care company is ripe to IPO. And then as a backup, I think a lot of large insurers are buying into kind of the channel into the home. So I think an acquisition is a strategic option. Care revenues are accelerating. We're now approaching 1 million, should be passing 1 million next month. I would say most of this is still primarily in the Raleigh-Durham Triangle area of North Carolina, as a platform just went viral over the last couple of months across the country. So as those bookings grow, I'm pretty confident we'll get this to 5 million plus based on the number of caregivers we already have. If we can simply engage them 10 hours a week at these different universities, we should be flowing through upwards of 15 million, plus the platform keeps growing every week. And now we're kicking off a proper seed fundraising round, looking to raise 3 million through a standard safe note. We are very cheap in how we operate it, and we think we can rapidly scale this to 50 universities and then the entire country. And we're poised to grab significant market share in a almost $200 billion industry that's in the early innings of transitioning to online. And I think over the last decade, we've seen when huge offline markets like travel stays or transportation, or even things like food delivery, when these big offline markets transition online, early movers can really build huge scale businesses and also just kind of improve the quality of the product and the service. So thank you for taking the time, and together, let's build a better future for care.
Thanks, Neil. Next up, I'd like to introduce Kim Petty with Onward.
Thanks, Katie. So I'm Kim Petty. I am the co-founder and CEO at Onward, where we're solving for transportation as a leading social determinant of health. Each year in the United States, 5.8 million people miss or delay care due to lack of access to safe, reliable transportation. And it is the #1 caregiving responsibility in the United States, with over 1.4 billion rides being provided by family caregivers. The second issue that we're solving for is the fact that as a healthcare system, we tend to use the highest cost alternative to transportation, overutilizing ambulance services, because it is the thing that is most accessible to our healthcare workforce. So we're doing two things. The first is what we call companion rides. It is a door-through-door rideshare alternative where our drivers, who are trained in first aid, CPR, supporting people with dementia, cognitive impairments, will enter the home, help somebody put on their coat, their shoes, carry their belongings to the car, fold a walker or wheelchair. On the other end of their journey, they will walk them into the healthcare facility to provide a safe handoff to the healthcare team, avoiding having that caregiver having to take a day off of work to take their family member or loved one to appointments. Part of our magic with the way that we're fulfilling these companion rides is our matching algorithm and how we are matching riders to drivers based on their mobility or impairment needs, as well as driver preferences. We are able to consistently match riders with the same driver on a routine and regular basis. They build trust and relationship, and we hear things like, I'm only going to my dialysis appointment today because of my driver, really, Jessica. In addition to having the companion rides, we've actually built out the platform to enable an entire marketplace for healthcare transportation, so that as a healthcare user, I can go in and get everything from traditional curb-to-curb rideshare up through ambulance services in a single one-stop shop, enabling me to coordinate, manage, have visibility and analytics on all of my transportation system performance so that I can get my patients or loved ones to the lowest cost, most appropriate level of transportation to meet their needs. Through this platform, we have partnered with organizations like UCSF, where we've delivered tremendous benefits from one, making their care teams more efficient in coordinating transportation. When we started with UCSF, it was taking them up to 40 minutes to order and confirm a single transport. Now that's happening in a minute and a half. We've consolidated all of their billing operations, so they're not getting 300 to 400 unique invoices per month. But most importantly, we've been able to reduce their length of stay, moving the discharge before noon up by 120% because we have helped to balance the supply of transportation within that network. That means they're saving hundreds of dollars in operating costs by not having to operate that bed, but more importantly, they're able to get that next $500,000 neuroscience case in the door. Further, we're working with organizations like San Mateo County Health, the San Francisco VA, and Canopy Health Plan to help drive access to care. For the VA, we provide 600 to 800 rides per month back and forth to dialysis appointments for our veterans of this country. Our current market traction, we have grown tremendously year over year, with our three core revenue streams, one being our companion rides that we operate ourselves. That's represented here in the dark purple. We have some SaaS revenue coming in from certain partners, and then we have revenue for referred rides, which are those rides that may go by a wheelchair or gurney van service that we have signed a third-party referral relationship with. Our partners cross the spectrum from health systems to health plans. We have excellent partnerships with PACE programs, which are the programs for all-inclusive care for the elderly, as well as post-acute and skilled nursing facilities, some of which who are represented here. At this moment, we have our greatest density in the Bay Area. We have just launched in the LA market with UC Irvine as an anchor partner. And our big goals for the next year are to raise capital and identify partners to enable geographic expansion. So our strategy for that is to identify core partners in each market that is one that we feel is appropriate for our solutions. And with that anchor partner, launch in that market, then build density and expand from there. So our goal is to be into 12 major US metropolitan markets by the end of 2024. A big part of how we're driving this forward, though, is trying to keep our mission first. So when we're screening our drivers, we're always trying to identify what brings them to us as a companion driver versus what you would get from a traditional driver for rideshare. And this is one of our favorite quotes from Denise, one of our drivers, who said, I used to drive my mother to all of her appointments. And when she died, I needed somewhere for our love to go. So thank you to Matter and the RRF Foundation for having us as part of this cohort. We're excited to have met all the other startups, and thanks to everyone for tuning in.
Thanks, Kim. Next up, we have Dom Alvaron with Family Proud.
Awesome. So good afternoon and welcome to Family Proud, the simplest way to show you care. So at our core, Family Proud is a social platform designed for care partners to build their support networks and communicate and provide needed support. We began when one of our founders was flying missions in Iraq and his mother had a heart attack in Los Angeles. He didn't have the support network that they needed built around her to provide logistical needs, and found himself coordinating for her in between missions. As veterans, often stationed far from home, we readily recognize the value of our support networks and what they provide to our families when we're away. As Family Proud has evolved, we also recognize that we're not alone in this. People from all backgrounds and all industries are facing hardships as the need to balance care for aging loved ones, children, and their jobs increases over time. However, what we see is that employers still don't fully understand the impact of caregiving on their workforce and really don't know what to do or how to handle it. They may recommend mental support for stress, but don't get to the core issues of where that stress is coming from. And they wind up losing approximately $33 billion annually due to impacts related to that caregiving, including losses of retention, loss of productivity, and overall absenteeism. Our solution is designed for that community support. We provide an initial assessment to the organization to help them understand what that impact is to their organization and risks associated, provide care partner support through our platform and our family liaisons, and access to training and resources. Once a member with care support needs is identified, they can access the platform and activate their support networks, purchase and send recommended care offerings to their loved ones and community members, and identify and access additional resources. In order to create closed loops of engagement around that pro-social behavior, we provide curated content around resources, recommendations for caregivers and supporters, and push notifications to keep families updated on how they can best support their communities around them. Really, the magic, though, for Family Proud is around sharing lessons learned and being able to pay it forward. So we are specifically focused, and this is a major differentiator to us, is the focus around democratizing access to information and resources for people in different demographic circumstances. Because while we're all equals, we all can have different support needs, even within the same care circumstance. We're currently live for download on iOS and Android. We've completed a successful SBIR Phase 2 contract with the Air Force, currently partnered with Rutgers University on a study through NIH surrounding caregivers for Alzheimer's dementia and Alzheimer's dementia-related disease patients, and about to launch with approximately 150 families under the Mitchell Thorpe Foundation. We are actively providing care assessments to several care companies to help them understand the impacts of their workforce. And this is where the majority of our revenue is tied to, around care assessments and licensing for licensing and technical support. Currently raising $2 million and $8 million pre, focused on partner growth, product expansion, and marketing. And really, ultimately, we want to provide core values and core value to our membership and expand our offering and core services through registries and partnerships with different organizations. And then finally, to train a large AI model to provide smart recommendations and tailored interventions specific to individual needs, whatever their demographic circumstance might be. This is our team, and we believe that together we can amplify care for all, no matter where they come from or who they are.
Thanks, Dom. Next up, pleased to introduce Lindsay Niemeyer with TCare.
Good afternoon. I'm Lindsay Niemeyer, Chief Strategy Officer at TCare. As we've heard this afternoon, there's an indisputable need to establish systems and programs to empower informal caregivers and help them navigate the challenges that can come with being a caregiver, so they can really focus on what matters most, caring for themselves and their loved ones. These family members and friends are stepping in and they're providing care to aging loved ones, spouses, military veterans, and adult children who require special care. 1 in 3 family caregivers spend an average of 21 to 24 hours per week on caregiving, which is essentially a part-time job. So as they also try to do that, they're balancing work and other personal responsibilities. As a result, these caregivers start to burn out. And when family caregivers burn out, it leads to overconsumption of services, declined health status of both the caregiver and care recipients, and premature placement into assisted living and nursing homes. As a family member or a friend, we don't train to become a caregiver. And most of the time, we don't even call ourselves caregivers, especially not early on in that journey. We're a family member or a friend, which means we aren't actively seeking resources and supports to help us. And this is really where T-Care comes in. T-Care is focused on helping family caregivers navigate the complexities that come with caregiving. We empower them to focus on their own health and well-being as they care for others by providing tech-enabled tools and personalized human care delivery. We identify individual needs and provide targeted resources and support to prevent the caregiver burnout. By battling this burnout, we improve the physical, mental, and financial well-being of caregivers. We help health plans manage service consumption, and we keep care at home while also preserving the joys that come for caring for a loved one. T-Care uses a proprietary caregiver assessment that we've developed to provide risk scoring and identifying the leading factors to an individual caregiver's risk for burnout. We generate an evidence-based caregiver care plan that addresses and effectively mitigates those risks. And caregivers are connected to a dedicated certified T-Care specialist to provide personalized care, and they develop goals focused on the caregiver's well-being needs and formalize these goals within a care plan. The care plan is designed to connect caregivers with targeted, appropriate resources and services at the right time and at low or no cost. The recommended care plan services include financial and legal resources, support with tactical and physical elements of caregiving, emotional and social support, educational resources, and additional community-based resources. The T-Care specialist becomes a trusted advocate and care navigator for the caregiver, scheduling regular follow-ups and touch points to monitor changing needs and circumstances, and continuing to iterate the care plan as needed. As a caregiver progresses through their individual caregiving journey, T-Care is measuring the impact of the different strategies and goals in the care plan to show the positive outcomes and change in risk score to measure effectiveness. We've supported over 30,000 caregivers, and through this experience, we've identified a key insight that has really influenced our engagement model. There is a profound shift in recommended services from education and information progressing into more high-touch care services for the care recipient, such as respite care and supporting in the management of ADLs. As we see this shift occurring, it indicates a potential intent to move care out of the home. And at this point, we escalate our engagement with the caregiver, recognizing higher level of need to delay or defer that placement. We're constantly using data and insights to influence our approach. This is core to who we are. T-Care was born out of an NIH-funded research study out of the University of Wisconsin-Madison, where our clinical model was established. And this has led us to being the only patented evidence-based caregiver solution, amassing over 15 years of longitudinal data and protocol history. We brought that protocol to market in 2018, and over the past 5 years, we've seen significant growth and change. Growth to our team, continued revenue growth. We're expecting to close this year at about 150% revenue growth and doing the same in next year. And we closed our Series A funding last October. We have been expanding our reach to engage caregivers across different segments, including health plan members, life and health policy holders, employer populations, state and local agencies, and organizations such as our recent launch to over 1.1 million veterans through the DAV, Disabled American Veterans. We're leveraging the diverse backgrounds and experience of our team and the proven outcomes of our model to let us enter into innovative business models guaranteeing ROI and taking at-risk and value-based contracts. Our mission is to provide comprehensive care for the caregiver, and in doing so, reduce the risk of caregiver burnout, drive improved health and well-being outcomes, and really keep care at home for as long as possible. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon, and for this participation that I've been privileged to be a part of.
Thanks, Lindsay. And before we announce the winner, I would like to thank all of the startups. Fantastic presentations today. It was incredible working with you all for the last few months. I would also like to thank RRF Foundation for Aging for partnering on this program. And I would also like to thank all of the program collaborators, mentors, workshop faculty, judges. Without you, this program would not be possible. So, as Stephen mentioned earlier, all of the teams presented a longer pitch to judges earlier this week. And there was actually a tie for the first place. So we are thrilled to announce the 2 winning solutions of the program. The winners are Onward and Zinnia.